What's going on, good people? It is the main man, the werewolf himself, Mr. Bad. So in this particular video, I normally don't do this. And for those people who don't know the various trolls out there, I do not debate people. I will not show up on your show or your platform or whatever else, trying to be all assaulted and ambushed and whatever else. The information speaks for itself. So in this particular segment, I do want to show you guys a little insight as to how people inside of the public, legal, maritime, commercial law, statute system think. Now, I'm going to be fair as I go through this information. I'm not personally attacking anybody or disparaging their information or whatever else, but we're going to read what they put on the internet publicly, and we're going to analyze every aspect of it. And I'm going to be fair. I'm going to tell you what is right, what is wrong, what is interpretation, and whatnot. So without further ado, don't forget to hit that bell, like, subscribe, and we're going to take a look here. Now, what we got going on is there's a person by the name of John, and he apparently operates within a particular law college. And this is Carolina's criminal law, and we're going to take a look at what he posted. Okay, so this doesn't exactly reflect us private people who operate properly in the private and well in the public. This is for those people who are in between, and they like to use the sovereign citizen word, which I hate. But what they really mean is underneath that term sovereign, which means private and under your own jurisdiction, and citizen meaning of the city, state, or citus, property of the city. Okay, which also then means public. You can't operate in both at the same time. It's an oxymoron. You can't be a slave and also a king. You're one or the other. So when you're in the public, you're the slave. When you're in the private, you are the king. So let's take a look. Okay, so shout out goes out to criminal law and all the associated people. So it says, surviving your next sovereign citizen. Okay, first of all, oxymoron. There's no legal nor lawful standing for this. Okay, cannot be prosecuted under something that it's not recognized by law. Though they use this term, this does not define you. You're either when they go to go against you, they're going to go after you as a public person and as a U.S. citizen who's done something wrong. They're not going to put in sovereign citizen, because if they do, there's no standing for this. You're either a U.S. citizen, alien, or private. Okay, and they can only deal with certain things, and this is nowhere. This has no legal standing. But okay. So he goes, this may sound familiar for many criminal attorneys. Now, first of all, he doesn't say he's a lawyer or even a teacher. He's just some guy who writes, apparently, for them articles. Okay, so my confidence in him is already shot, because he's not saying he's anything, a lawyer, an attorney, nothing, not a nothing, just some guy talking. So okay, that's fair. I'm just some guy talking too. All right. So he's talking about you're in court, the DA calls the next case. So what's dangerous about this is that he doesn't understand fully what's going on. He's speaking from inside of the sandbox, and he has got no understanding of private side, constitution, or anything. There are numerous different jurisdictions, and he doesn't have an idea. If he did, he wouldn't put this in here. But that's fine. He's entitled to his perspective and whatnot. Okay, but we're going to go through in a fair way and just keep it real. So I do agree that when people are operating in different jurisdictions incorrectly, that's a problem. Okay, it just is. So they're right in that there's a problem here, but they use this term to describe that. and it is what it is. Okay. So he's saying that from these people's perspective, Your Honor, I am not John Q. defendant. Now, what he's trying to say right here is that when somebody who's operating privately goes in there, they're saying, well, I'm not this. Well, the truth of it is that when your name is in an all capitalized format, this is a legal person. They do this to represent the difference between a legal person and a living person or another entity. So he doesn't understand that. This is a state of whatever state you were born in, created legal person that's attached to the trust. There is a difference between a legal person. Look it up. Okay. So, which is a fictional corporate entity. Well, this part is true. This is a non-living, so it's fictional corporate entity created by the state via the birth certificate. Okay. I am a natural living being appearing in pro per on behalf of John Q. So notice how the name is now upper and lower. For me, this would be all lowercase, representing the capitis minimus standing of a living person, and I would have of the house of, showing that I'm a private person and I am not a corporation. Right now, if I go on irs.gov and I create a corporation with my same exact name, they're going to send me a document with the name, my name, in all capitalized lettering like this to show that it's a business. It's a corporation, corporate entity, something not the living person. And pro per, you're trying to say in one's own person, okay? For me, it would be sui juris, okay? Sometimes I like to say pro se, but that means that you are in their jurisdiction and you understand their ways. Well, when done correctly, I'm not in your jurisdiction. I'm not a member of the state of's private members association. I'm not a juridical person. The name is, but I operate the name, just like a business. That's all it is. Defendant, free citizen. No, that sounds stupid. I would say state citizen or national of the United States under 8 U.S.C. 1101-22B. But okay. Challenging jurisdiction. This, yes, you have the right to challenge jurisdiction in any situation at any point in time. Personal or subject matter. But if you've committed a crime, then you've let them pull you into their jurisdiction. If you've broken a statute or a rule and you're operating not privately, but publicly with your legal person, then yeah, you can't do those things because you've given them jurisdiction. Okay, so it goes, what follows next is confusing series of questions. Well, you have the right to question things, and what do you mean confusing? There's nothing confusing about it. If you don't know something, you're supposed to ask. I'm supposed to what? I'm supposed to shut up and just let you tell me what I can do, can't do? Quasi-legal arguments. Well, it's funny you say quasi-legal because they'll tell you, oh, is it criminal? No. Is it civil? No. It's a quasi-civil or quasi-whatever. That's not a... So it's funny how they do this, and I've had the judge tell me this right here. Okay, well, it's not one of the 3 jurisdictions that the federal government allows them to operate under, but okay. Full of buzzwords about the U.C.C. Well, they're doing commerce. If money is being exchanged in the public, it is commercial. And if the money's been exchanged in the private and they have agreed to operate under the U.C.C. because they are registered to the state, then it's commercial. Admiralty Court, real thing. Admiralty Maritime. That's why they don't have the American flag in there. They have the executive order flag with the red, white, and blue, and then gold fringer on the outside. That was made possible by an executive order. Strawman. This represents your name in all capitalized letters. It's actually known as a legal person and a your nom de gore, which is Latin for war name, or public transmitting utility. Right to travel. This is done under the Constitution and ruled multiple times with court cases proven cited in favor of in the federal and Supreme Court. Capital letters. Yep. Represents in Black Law's dictionary, capitis dimutio maxima, full loss of rights when used in all capitalized lettering. Red ink. Now, this you can't exactly prove, but this represents the blood of the living person and on the red rooty soil in which he stands. So you're standing. They operate everything in maritime or water-based scenarios, logos, jurisdiction. Fiduciaries. Well, yeah, this one I don't really deal with, but people who are responsible for your account in your minor estate. De facto government, meaning you're not the true government, meaning the state of is not the true government. They have ability to be called a government and operate as one, and so they are legit, but they have their own constitution. Okay, so unless they agree that they are, well, let me say this correctly. They are not the federal government, which is the full, true, lawful law in the land. They operate, the state ofs operate as legal or corporate. Okay, accepted for value just means you're discharging through your social security number, which goes to the Sesticate Trust, which has a different legal name, but that's what that is. Okay, so he goes, yep, you got a sovereign citizen on your hands. Don't play the game. Well, the problem is that they're right in the sense that the person there, if you're not doing this privately with a writ to the judge before getting in there, which is private business, they don't want to hear this in court, and they don't have to. So it sounds like gobbledygook, and the people who do know what this is, they tell the people underneath them, yeah, don't worry about all that, because if they started admitting to any of this, the game is over. Okay? So he starts talking about more about the, let's see here. Retired SOG faculty member, my Elohim said, quick guide to summarize the movement. Write up about them is short. So the sovereign citizen word is used as a catch-all term to describe a wide range of group of organizations. Okay, so this is wrong. You cannot lump everybody together, but let's take a look. Freeman on the land. Okay, unless you formed, now you could do this either privately, publicly, get an EIN, but this does not mean that you're anti-government or you're wrong. Ouachita Nation, they're legit. Moore Nation, they're legit. Tax protesters, you have a right to protest taxes, but here's the thing, taxes are legal within Washington, D.C. and their territories. The zip code. And if you don't want to pay taxes, it's it's tax avoidance. Okay, that's what you have to call it. That's what they call it at the IRS. White supremacists and others. Well, once again, though I'm not fond of this, they have a right to operate how they want to within their own private things. The problem is they're all operating with legal names. Okay, use a legal name in the public, your public name, well, then you're subject to these things. Okay, they claim that they're exempt from the law. Well, no, they're operating in different law. Okay. Private. Look it up. There is a real thing called private law. Their beliefs are usually based on convoluted readings of commercial law. Well, commercial law only, that's what they use. See, they're subsidiaries. Okay. Just for example, only, let's say they're operating underneath their jurisdiction. They operate and utilize commercial law. Under commercial law, you might have, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So people use commercial law because they use it. Okay. So in the 14th Amendment, well, the 14th Amendment does talk about 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. Okay. These are people out of D.C., entities, all out of that jurisdiction. This is the public. And if you really want to get it, well, I already did a video on the 13th, 14th Amendment. We won't do it here. Okay, conspiracy theories involve the U.S. Treasury. No conspiracy here. The Treasury is the Treasury. Now, maybe some people out there who are operating inappropriately have something to say, but they're legit. Now, if you're talking about the Federal Reserve, well, that's privately owned by a family, set of board members. Okay. Okay, so he's saying here that somebody, here's the problem. Here's where they're right. So you got this guy here, Jared, whoever, blah, 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 tried to overturn his federal sex crime convictions. Yeah, that's not going to work because you've heard somebody. They have a signed, written, notarized complaint. So that's why it's denied. If he was just a private person and still did this, he would be also denied because he's still here as a person, whether private or public, and the federal has the jurisdiction over all of that. Okay. Are there any valid legal arguments behind their theories? No. So you're saying there's not one thing accurate in here. Liar, because you don't know the Constitution. You don't know constitutional law, and you obviously haven't read the court cases. So what do? They cherry pick things here. That's why they don't have a whole list of them. And what does it say here? Courts repeatedly have been confronted with sovereign citizen attempts to delay judicial proceedings as frivolous. Okay, so this is put in here. This is not what it actually says. This is not the case. But they're saying in these cases, let's see. So they don't even talk about the case. He's just stating these cases where they dismissed or rejected. Okay, yeah, because one, there's no such thing as a sovereign citizen. So if you're going in there calling yourself that, you've already lost. You haven't identified yourself as a private person, not a part of the political jurisdiction or society. And they probably utilize their legal name. So yeah, you've lost across the board. Okay, so this part unpublished. And here's half the thing too, is if you're going to federal court, you're saying that you're one of the entities, but you use your legal name. You're giving them jurisdiction over you in the federal court, and you haven't correctly identified yourself because you don't have a secondary private name because they've mixed your given name with your legal name. Like if I call my company James C Lovett, that's a legal person. Okay, let's go on here. So sovereign citizens interrupt the judge and demand to see a certificate of jurisdiction. Okay, well, what they really mean is show me how you have jurisdiction over me. See, in America, not the U.S. corporation, but in America, slavery has been outlawed. You cannot force me to do something. That's why they have what's known as the consent of the governed. But if you've committed a crime, you've been pulled into the jurisdiction because you're not from another country. You are still here. You're private, and that means you're not a part of certain things if you choose not to play. But ultimately, the law has jurisdiction because you've agreed to it. You've never rebutted it. And if you're not one of us, then you're an alien. So here he's saying prosecutors should refuse to play along. Well, what's funny is I'm not seeing any quotes from their law books. Nothing at all. Don't you think the lawyers and stuff are taught what's going on? You don't think judges know what's going on? Maybe not all of them. Okay. So let's see what is this? So let's see what they got here. Oh, look here. The defendant's constitutional rights. There you go, buddy. Did you even read the links to the things? Okay. But here, and I don't know what all of this is, I haven't read the whole thing. Yeah, if you go on, it looks like they're talking about somebody, a death of a defendant. Well, yeah, if you've hurt somebody, yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a private, national, state citizen, federal citizen, whatever, unless you're truly an alien with diplomatic immunity, you're not going to get out of that. So they're saying your sovereign citizens cooperation is not actually required to successfully resolve the case. Well, that's because they can trample over you if you have not declared who and what you are. And if they do, you take it to federal court and get your, what do they say? Constitutional rights. Okay, many of them represent themselves in propria persona, meaning one's own person. Okay, but what person? I would argue, because in black laws, there's multiple definitions of the word person. The legal person, the private person. If you don't identify that in yourself, then they can assume you are who they say you are or what they believe you to be. Paper terrorism. Okay, well, I'll give you credit on this one. Do not continuously send them stuff. You can send your affidavit letting them know ahead of time who you are for court in the form of a writ or affidavit or declaration, but do not continuously send them stuff. They don't want them anyway. They don't know who you are, and if you're going to operate and move properly, move properly. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this process better. So I do agree with this. Here's where it gets dangerous. For most judge attorneys, sovereign citizen encounters will involve some frustration and delay. Well, there shouldn't be any frustration or delay if there's nothing valid. The problem is that people are moving in the private and the public. A lot of people, even listening to this right now, or doing right to travel, have not watched my updated video that your vehicle needs to be in a private trust, registered privately. Your plates should have that name on the top of the plate. Look up your state's legislative code on foreign registered vehicles and non-resident vehicles. So yes, you're not operating correctly, but it does not usually pose a serious risk. Okay, so not usually. So are there some radical people? Yeah, there's radical normal people, radical this, that, and the other, to their personal safety. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. For police officers, detention staff, others who are called upon to maintain the order in the courtroom or confront them on the road. So be cautious. That's why the first thing they want to do is belittle you and put you into this state of gray, because you've then lost your rights. If you accept the name, then you're under their jurisdiction. But if you're doing something illegal or somewhat still yet in their jurisdiction, then in fact you are the S word. Now, the problem is that they don't want to show us how to get out of their system, operate privately. It's, you either have to know or you got to try some stuff, and therein lies the problem. But on their side, legally, they have no obligation to teach you how to live privately or as a foreign national. They don't. It's not their jurisdiction. Matter of fact, the private is what controls all of them. The private person is the one who can go to Congress and tell them, we want these things changed. Or you start operating privately and not using their things, and then now suddenly they're hurting for money. That's how things change. So you don't go out there and be belligerent, speed, be all blastful, belligerent combatants. I don't teach you guys that here. And if you do it on your own, that's on you. Then you are stupid and you do deserve to be arrested and whatever else. Because that'd be like being in a relationship with somebody and unless you're okay with it, but let's just say I'm not, and you want to act a certain way. So here you are, my girlfriend, and we're supposed to have a loving relationship and whatever else, and you're keeping secrets. You're calling me names. You're belittling me. You're telling me I should look like this guy, work out like this guy. If I were to do that to that person, that's going to hurt their feelings. And I say, well, why are you even with me? So in this case, it's the same thing. Either you're here and you're operating properly, or you're outside. You can't do both unless you're having an open relationship and you don't mind the person belittling you or using your resources inappropriately, taking your credit card and just racking up money. Like, you can't have it both ways. There's benefits and privileges inside the kingdom. If you're outside of the box as a national state citizen, well, then you've got freedom, privileges, or freedom, rights, and liberty. But you can't do both at the same time. Either you're all in when you're doing this, or you're all out when you're doing that. That's the problem. Okay? So there you guys have it. Hopefully that breaks down some information. And believe it or not, and I've said this before, I used to be like that guy, John Q. Public, we'll just call him. Why? Because I was so American that I figured if you got pulled over, you must have did something wrong and bad. Seemed legit till some of that stuff happened to me and I wasn't doing anything. And then I wanted to become a police officer and a military personnel and all that. Be on the inside, make a difference. And then I started realizing that there's problems there too, because wherever there's people, there's bound to be some corruption and problems, period. There's no society, no fraternity, no government agency, no nothing that somebody or somebodies don't act clandestinely. And they'll label it as the greater good, or they just feel some kind of way. I'm a cop, I can do whatever I want to do. Or whatever the scenario may be. Once again, if you're a good cop or good agent, good employee, and you let the other employees get away without reporting them to the people above you or internal affairs or the DOJ or whatever else, FBI, then you're no better than them. And that's the problem. You want to protect them. Buddy, right? Back to blue, the blue line of secrecy. All those people out there are all bad people. We need to stay to each other. I'm the one who's going to be there to have your back when something goes down. And that is true. But at the same time, if you see this person doing illegal stuff, then they're no better than the persons that they're arresting. Now, we'll never have a perfect system in this mortal reality. But if you're letting bad things slide by, how long until you become bad just like them? So to those people who do report people anonymously or whatever else to internal affairs or, you know, the government, blah, blah, my hat goes off to you and you are saluted, because you know what? You, in fact, are supporting America, Constitution, Declaration, Bill of Rights. Now, in other countries, they don't have that, and it's the king, dictator, leader, whatever. What they say is what goes. Can't help you out there. But here we were founded, well, in all reality, on a lot of death and chaos and destruction. Unfortunately, is underneath the foundation of America. So even that is not perfect by any means. But we're doing our best every day. So as a true American, a true patriot, I can understand why people who don't know what's really going on feel the way they do, because I was once like those people. And then I started researching it and finding the deeper meanings that are sometimes hidden or held in private or not interpreted correctly. I do believe it was JFK who talked about a shadow government. I do believe this is what he was talking about, that there are these differences of things going on, and if you have eyes to see and ears to hear. Now, they're not completely wrong, but they're not completely right either. But therein lies the problem, because if you're not completely right, then you're all wrong. And that goes for every person out there who is not traveling privately, who's sending countless files to these agencies and whatever else. The agencies don't care about your status. So you're going to see in my next videos, I'm going to start talking about, hey, if you want to send them out there, cool, but you don't need to. What you need to do is learn how to operate commerce right, how to operate privately, understand private law, common law. So Mr. John wants to just talk about law. Well, what law do you operate under? State law? Okay, well, under state law, they still yet operate by commerce and UCC codes. These are real things. But there's also stuff called private law, common law. Okay, so you can't throw down one blanket of law. Matter of fact, I will see you one better and have you understand that all the law that are out there are still subservient . You know why? Because each state and all of them gave up a percentage of their sovereignty to operate here. Now, if the states could secede from the Union, then yeah, you can't do right to travel in their area because it's completely private. But see, the roads are public and private. You can use them for either or. If you use them for business, then that's driving commercially, and you get a commercial license, which is a driver's license. But if you're going to operate with heavy vehicles, chemicals, then you need a professional, which is then called a CDL. But we've made videos on that. So anyway, that's it, guys. Hopefully that breaks down some information for you. As always, do your own research, vet the information, and find your own meanings. But understand this. One of the reasons why, this person like Mr. John here, he doesn't read the federal rules of civil procedure. He doesn't understand constitutional law, private law, common law, maritime jurisdiction. He finds them to not be relevant to look into it, as I did at one point in time too. Like, it's whatever. But then I said, you know what? If the law recognizes these things, then the law does recognize, meaning the people do recognize private law, private side, public law, then you need to look into them. So look them up is my challenge. Before messaging me or bothering me, which I don't answer trolls or challenging emails and meet me on my platform, blah, blah, blah. I don't. Because we're only going to go in circles because you only understand what's in your sandbox, and your sandbox only exists because of the Constitution. It allows you to exist. It allows you to do those things. That's why nearly everything that is done in court can always be overturned by the federal court if there's a deprivation of your rights to the Constitution, or you're trying to enslave somebody or force them to do something, which is peonage. See, the only reason why they can get away with what they're doing is because you've agreed to play the game. You've signed the agreements. You're still using your legal person, which is they co-own it or co-control it. Sounds like you need some new stuff. But never forget, you're not above the law, even if you know all of this. Even if you know as much as I do or more, you're not above the law. But you can operate with it and privately if you know how to do it the correct way. What do you think the wealthy people do? How come that wealthy person didn't go to jail? How come that wealthy person doesn't pay taxes? Because they're moving privately. They know who and what they are. It's just the average person that was never meant to know that. But you're supposed to. You were born that way. But unfortunately, your parents, and other people's parents never read the fine print in these documents. They never looked up definitions of things. You think I'm wrong about the American flag? Well, go on Cornell Law EDU and look up Title IV flag. Read the description of it. By law, if it's not exactly as it's mentioned there, then it's something different. And the law states that which is different is not the same. That which is similar is not the same. And if it's not the same, then it's similar. So they talk about a flag in there that says red, white, and blue, size, dimension, number of stars, stripes, all that. They don't mention any yellow fringes on there, but you know what does? An executive order. Matter of fact, I will make mention of which executive order that is. I wonder if I could find that real quick. Let me see. Well, I'll be. Yeah, here it is. Let's check it out. Bang, bang, baby. President Dwight D. Eisenhower by executive order. Okay, so this was not in existence until, or a legal thing until he made it happen. So executive order 10834, signed on August 21st, 1959, and printed in the Federal Register 24 FR 6865, pursuant to law, stated a military flag is a flag that resembles the regular flag of the United States of America, except that it has a yellow fringe border on 3 sides. Now, obviously here in something separate, somebody goes, get that gold fringe off my flag. So that's a military flag. So why are military flags flying in the courts? Because they operate, according to Cornell Law EDU, in maritime admiralty jurisdiction. Now, real quick, like Title IV flag, U.S. code. Cornell Law. Okay. So let's check it out real quick. The flag of the United States, meaning in this scenario, America, Cornell Law, you guys really should have America behind this or in a geographical sense, but you get it. Shall be 13 horizontal stripes, alternating red and white, and the union of the flag shall be 48. Now, this is how it started. So let's look at the next progression. On the admission of a new state into the union, 1 star shall be added. Didn't say anything about gold fringes, but the executive order said that particular flag, well, that gold fringe makes it a new entity. So here they're talking about a flag within the District of Columbia. So we're talking about something different. So these are the legal descriptions of our flag. Stripes and stars, no fringe. That's why your rights have been infringed upon. That's it for now, guys. Like I said, stay wise, stay woke, stay aware. do your own research, vet the information, operate properly as a non-belligerent, non-combatant treaty with the United States, just like me, and get your education on, or your informational purposes only. Okay? Okay. Talk to you guys later.